This is Unearthing Eden, a podcast hosted by two witches where we will be talking about all things metaphysical and witchy. Welcome to our garden. Humans have a very deep connection to the stars and space and planets around us, but they have also been used for a deeper spiritual connection and using it for divination. Astrology as a spiritual practice originated mostly in Mesopotamia around the 3rd millennium BC. They are the ones who basically divided the sky into 12 parts. Specifically, the Babylonians did this in southern Mesopotamia. And they were located in what is now known as modern day Iraq, right off of the Euphrates River. They attributed astrology to Marduk, which was their main god, their patron god of Babylon. So Jupiter was mainly seen as their main god. So in more, I guess, recognizable terms, think of it like Zeus. So the king god of their pantheon. The Babylonians were the first to apply deities to these constellations and astronomy or astrology, and they described the 12 signs of the zodiac. And the Egyptians then took it and redefined it into their own system, which then led to the Greeks and other surrounding cultures using astronomy and astrology. And mind you, this is a worldwide practice. Pretty much any culture you look into, they have used the stars. We have to remember that this was also used to navigate people. They didn't have GPS or maps or really anything. They didn't really know the entire planet existed. So using that, especially for sailors, they were able to direct themselves to where they needed to go using these constellations, which I think was super interesting because me personally, I would be lost forever without my GPS on my phone, but it's just really interesting to think that these people way back in the day were using the sky as a map. So the Egyptians had their own deities. So instead of what we're used to, which is the Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc., they used a different set of deities and including the Nile River. So I'm not going to go through the dates because it spans through different months, through different days of each month. So I'm just going to list out the main deities and symbolisms that they use to describe this. So the first house would be the Nile. The second one would be Amun Ra, Mut, Geb, Osiris, Isis, Thoth or Thoth, however you pronounce it, Horus, Anubis, Seth, Bastet, and Sekhmet. Those are their 12 houses of the zodiac. And mind you, depending on where you're located on the globe, you will see a different part of the sky. So they're not going to have the same constellations or the same deities, obviously, associated with these things and the same meanings. So what we're used to is the Greek rendition of astrology, which would be dramatic pause. Aries is the first house, and the dates range from March 21st to April 19th. Taurus is the second house, which spans from April 20th to May 20th. Gemini is May 21st to June 21st. Cancer is June 22nd to July 22nd. Leo is July 23rd to August 22nd. Virgo is August 23rd to September 22nd. Libra is September 23rd to October 22nd. Scorpio is October 3rd to November 21st. Sagittarius is November 22nd to December 1st. Capricorn is December 22nd to January 19th. Aquarius is January 20th to February 18th. And Pisces is February 19th to March 20th. Now, these are basically going from spring to the end of winter, which is why Aries is the first house because it hits right in spring, and that was their New Year's. Traditionally, that should be the New Year's because everything's being reborn, everything is growing, again, depending on what part of the planet you're on. But that's the idea of it. It goes from rebirth, growth, to aging to death, which is in the dead of winter. So you can also use that for the wheel of the year when you're looking at why people celebrate certain holidays during certain seasons or why certain signs associate with certain traits. So that's what would go in with the Greek signs, and that is what we use today. Now, it has changed a lot, very westernized. A lot of people use astrology to determine who a person is and their personality traits and if they're going to like them or not. I hear a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like Cancers because of this, or I had a bad experience with a Sagittarius once. But we also have to look at it at a broader perspective where their entire chart correlates together, and it doesn't mean that every single person born between this date range is going to be toxic or overly emotional. Anybody, no matter when they're born, has the ability to be a great friend or a very toxic person in your life. So don't use that to judge a person specifically. Try to get to know people, get out there, talk more, learn more about somebody, and then determine whether or not you're a fit with them or not. And then I'm going to pass it over to you so you could let us know more about the traditional zodiac that we use today.
Thank you. I love a good history lesson. So I'm actually going to kind of pick up where you left off regarding like the seasons. So each season that starts per sign would be considered a cardinal sign. So Aries is the cardinal sign. That one starts spring. Cancer is going to be the start of summer. Libra is the start of autumn, and Capricorn is the start of winter. Now that does correlate with how they are portrayed, how people follow. So a lot of cardinal signs are going to be like, I want to follow this person, see them, and I want to just follow them to the ends of the earth. So they're known as like the movers and the shakers. They're very driven and they are like natural leaders. And then that leads into the traits like Mickey was talking about. And I'm going to go in the same order, starting with the house of Aries, since that is our first house. A normal trait, I don't want to say a normal trait, but a trait that a lot of Aries will have depending on their moon, rising, month they were born, so on and so forth. They're going to be very brave, ambitious, honest, and competitive. They can be impatient, but they're also quick-tempered, which then leads us into a Taurus. So a Taurus is going to be, again, loyal, patient, reliable, trustworthy. However, with them being a bull, they can also be stubborn, unyielding, and sometimes mean. A Gemini is going to be intelligent, adaptable, versatile, and funny, but they can sometimes be inconsistent or moody and unpredictable. A will be very nurturing, compassionate, caring, loyal, but they can also be moody, pessimistic, and over-emotional. A Leo is going to be generous, confident, brave, and genuine, but they can also be quick-tempered, arrogant, and bossy. Virgos are going to be hardworking, a perfectionist, intelligent, and they're going to be very analytical, but they can also be unforgiving, self-centered, and compulsive. Libras can be diplomatic, fair, peace-loving, and adaptable, but can be indecisive, moody, and or lazy. Scorpios are going to be passionate, intense, intuitive, and protective, but they can also be controlling, vengeful, and envious. Sagittarius can be optimistic, independent, funny, and outgoing, but can be careless, relentless, and impatient. Capricorns are loyal, hardworking, ambitious, and well-mannered, but can be unforgiving, pessimistic, and fatalistic. Aquariuses are friendly, independent, intelligent, and humorous, but they can also be aloof, cold-hearted, and unemotional. And then, last but not least, our wonderful Pisces can be gentle, imaginative, artistic, and compassionate. But they, again, can also be emotional, or unemotional or over-emotional, depending on the type of Pisces that you run into. The other cool thing about these is that on a zodiac wheel, since it's going to be in a perfect circle with 12 separate boxes, recognizing each zodiac sign itself, the sign across from yours is going to be your sister sign. So for me being a Capricorn, my sister sign is going to be a Cancer. You can have either the complete opposite personality of you, or you could be an exact match depending on what the rest of your chart looks like. I have only really met one Cancer that recognized me as a sister sign, and we no longer speak because there was so much clashing and headbutting, and they wanted so many things, but I couldn't I couldn't provide what they were asking for.
I've heard a few times that Aries and Capricorns don't get along, and most of my friends are Capricorns.
I'm a
Like,
Capricorn.
most of my best friends are, yeah. Like, almost everybody I know is a Capricorn, and except for like a couple of people here and there. And I get along with other Aries too. So a lot of people are like, Aries butt heads too much, or I don't see that as a huge part. It
No,
does matter, like, where all of their other signs fall.
it
I'm
really does.
sure, but at the same time, it's also where that person is in their growth, because you can be a match. Like, your signs could say, "Oh, these two signs match very well. They're good in relationships." But if one of the people in that is not emotionally mature enough, they are going to show more of the toxic signs of their sign, I would say. So for Aries specifically, because I can speak on this, I've been there where the anger issues, you're not really able to take accountability or apologize or humble yourself. But I've met some Aries as well that are very humble and can give the spotlight up. It just, and I've struggled with that too, to grow out of that. So it does matter where you are in your journey. And I think that that can also tell whether that sign specifically is going to be toxic or not.
And it also depends on if that person is willing to accept the change and accept the fact that, hey, you are being a terrible person. Don't even blame your sign because you can be better than that.
Exactly. There is no one sign that's better or worse than the other.
Oh, no. And people like to dog on Scorpios, but my uncle is a Scorpio and he is the nicest person I've ever met and he would literally kill for anybody in his family. But the moment you do him wrong, you're cut out. You're done.
Yeah, my great grandma is a Scorpio too, I think. November, right? Yeah, she's a Scorpio and she is wonderful. I don't understand how anybody could have issues with her.
Right. I
And
love
same thing
Manny.
with my boyfriend. I get along with him very well. Like, it's not, it really just depends on the person. And that's why I say you need to get to know somebody first. And eventually they will show their true colors, regardless of what sign they are. If they're a bad person, then they're a bad person. And they're
Don't
not
sign
a
shame.
right fit for you. Yeah. I hate seeing these videos, especially on TikTok. Witch Talk has been really irritating me lately because I'm tired of seeing the beef between two signs, or like there's somebody in there talking about some, yeah, Aries would beat everybody up, or yeah, Taurus would never stand for this, or something like that. And I get that. I get having pride in when you were born, but also you probably have those signs that you're trashing in your chart.
Exactly. Like, dude, you can't trash a sign and watch you be like, watch that be 4 of your houses or 4 of your planets.
Exactly. And I'm like, you can't sit here, because you're not gonna sit here and trash a Libra in front of me. I'm sorry.
Right.
You're not gonna sit here and trash a Capricorn or something and be like, oh, because I heard, oh, overly emotional. That might have been Cancer that I'm thinking about. But I feel
Yeah.
like all sorts of toxic rhetoric come from TikTok specifically, and like other platforms that you can get on, specifically Witch Talk, where they had a bad experience with a Pisces or a Cancer, and so they want everybody else to hate them too. Or they're like, these people are horrible, never date an Aquarius, never date this person.
And here I am married to an Aquarius.
Yeah, but you don't know how this person operates. Or
Exactly.
like, you don't know what a person went through to make them the way they are too. So just keep that in mind and be gentle with yourself and others. And just because somebody says, like, maybe they're shitting on your sign too much, or maybe you might feel insecure about your sign, or it's anything like that, don't feel bad. Wear it with pride, but also give grace to other people and don't get too egotistical about it.
So, whenever we talk about the rest of your chart, a lot of people are only going to look at their sun, moon, and rising to begin with, and then you have the rest of your planets. So, your sun sign is going to represent the position of the sun at the time that you were born. This is going to be what everybody goes by. So, as a Capricorn, that was the position of the sun when I was born, whether that be in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day. That's really like position, like physically. So, like, not middle of the day. I'm sorry. It's going to be like where the sun is in rotation to the earth around it. So that's how the stars change, and so on and so forth. So this is going to be seen as the person's core identity, their ego, or personality trait. It also gives you your basic preferences, such as the romantic capabilities and how you would navigate your life. Your moon sign is going to be the position in which the moon was when you were born, same situation as the sun, where was it rotating? This is going to give you your emotional nature, your inner desires, and how you experience your emotions. It also helps you figure out your unconscious mind, where your emotions, fears, and instincts reside. And then it also helps you connect with another person. It gives you another way to give you an ideal partner, and it's how you approach your intimacy and how you care for others. Now, either that's physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, anything along those lines, your moon sign's really going to dictate how that goes. And then your rising sign, that one varies to the minute because it's the sign that was on the horizon at the time of your birth. So that's why it can vary minute to minute, AM to PM, anything along those lines. And this is how you're going to present yourself to the outside world. So anybody's first impression of you and your outward personality. If I walk up to you on the street, when I first meet you, that's how I'm going to see your rising sign. And it's also going to be how someone behaves when you start to get to know them. So once you start to dig deeper and their true nature emerges, that's when their rising sign is really going to come out to play and show us everything. Am I missing anything?
No, but I would also like to mention a couple of things about my chart. So, mind you, I have my personal chart with all of my signs on it, and I'm looking through and I'm seeing Aries, Gemini, Scorpio, Aries, Gemini, Scorpio, Aries, Taurus, Aquarius, Aquarius, Sagittarius. Literally, there's so many Aries, Geminis, and Scorpios in my chart.
That makes so much sense. So give us your big three. So what's your sun, moon, rising, and what does that mean for you?
So my sun is in Aries, and like you said, it determines my ego and role in life, basically. And I'm just gonna read from this, but I just want you to know I've read over it, and I do see similarities in this. It can mean that I'm fundamentally assertive or very persistent and courageous. I do naturally pick up things if they're not being done, or if I see them not being done the way I like it, I'll just do it. So I can be very assertive in that. I can push things forward, and also I can bring a lot of enthusiasm to things, and I have the need to feel distinguished from others through my work or routines or health, which not really so much health. I kind of just eat what I want. But definitely through my work and routines, I do feel that that drive and passion to kind of be outstanding or unique, which is something that I do sort of battle with. When you get deeper in your practice, you get into this whole world where they're like, "Oh, you got to kill your ego." And my ego just won't die. And I've tried to snuff that flame, but it just keeps coming back. So that's probably the Aries in me. So my next sign is Moon in Gemini, and this is over the emotions, moods, and feelings, which obviously the moon is associated with your emotions in general. So, my emotional self can often be restless or unsettled. I can be adaptable to certain situations, and I do sometimes take on too much. I'm easily bored, and I need to feel like I'm free to be creative or to have meaning in what I'm doing, which can make me feel like I'm in a constant identity crisis. Accurate. Meaning that I can find security and safety through darkness, taboos, rebirth, sex, and transformation. Now, rising is in Scorpio, so the mask. And that's what me and my sister sign also share. I'm gonna keep calling her my sister sign because that's why she's everything. But we share this actually. And so, like you said, yeah, it changes every 2 hours. This may or may not be super accurate, but I got the roundabout time that I was born. And my mom kind of remembers. Mind you, I don't blame her for not remembering because childbirth is crazy.
Right.
I can come across as passionate, incisive, cunning, and perceptive. I can also be seen as very intense or intimidating, even malicious or aggressive. And
Yeah.
yeah, I can see myself putting on that. I mean, I guess I associate aggressiveness with confidence sometimes a little bit too much.
You walk
So
a very fine line between aggressive and confident, and there are some times where I'm like, whoa, you need to pull back a little.
I do get intense. But listen,
The eye contact is what is whenever you hold eye contact, that's when I know you're getting aggressive.
dude, you're never gonna let that go. You should see me in job interviews.
Oh, I would never interview you. The moment you kept too much eye contact, the immediate thing, they looked in my eyes too much.
You literally write a note down on the side. Really crazy eye contact. Yeah, that's my superpower.
Crazy eyes?
That's my X-Men power. It's like I make really good eye contact.
Okay, anyways, so let me go through mine. So looking at my chart, I have a good smattering of everything. So I have Virgo, Libra, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries, which I think is really fun. My Saturn's in Aries, by the way. Anyway, so being a Capricorn sun, I tend to be emotionally reserved and I can be power hungry and driven to succeed. But I can also be really responsible, serious, efficient, and rational, which I do see a lot of because I won't show you my emotions or the fact that I like you until I get to know you, until I know that you're gonna be like a good person to me. Because if not, I will be stoic and I won't answer you and I will just go, okay, well, anyways, so that's really fitting. My moon is also in Capricorn. Look at me being a double cap, where I crave guidance or comfort from a teacher or a parent or a parental figure. I can be emotionally repressed in the name of responsibility, seriousness, and rationality. I'll tell you right now, all of my emotions were put to the side for quite a while because my siblings were more important and are still more important. So Mickey here has been telling me, it's okay to cry. You just need to let it out. And I'll be like, no, I'm fine. I'm not going to cry. And then I end up crying for 5 minutes and then I'll go, okay, I'm fine. And then I'll just go back to what I was doing. It happens.
Oh,
It's Anyway, my rising sign is a Virgo, which means that, like I said, like we said earlier, it changes every 2 hours. So this is as accurate because I asked my mother for my birth certificate and I put the exact time in. So I can come across as precise, diligent, and peace-seeking and organized. But I could be too attached to work, details, and the pursuit of perfection, which you see on a daily basis because you work with me. So that's super fun and fresh from on my end, at least. But I can say that I will choose the peaceful option between a situation where, like, I will tell somebody, like, hey, you need to, like, calm down, like, let's take a step back. I don't use the word calm down, but, like, that's the vibe I'm trying to go for is, like, hey, like, let's step back, let's take a breather, because, like, I don't want an argument, I don't want anger going. Like, I would rather talk it out, be peaceful, and then call it a day there.
no, I agree. I mean, it really comes down to how you cope with emotions in general.
Yeah.
Or like how you cope with your schedule or your routine if something gets thrown out or if you're faced with certain conflicts, how would you deal with that? I mean, we all have different ways of dealing with things depending on the setting we're in. If you have even an ounce of self-awareness, you're not going to immediately hit 100 when you're at your job. Usually, unless you get pushed too far.
I got pushed too
But
far once.
like you will deal with conflict differently outside of work than you would in work or with your family versus with an acquaintance or a stranger.
Exactly. And remember that your chart is not going to be a direct reflection of you. You can see characteristics of yourself in your chart. That's what it is. I mean, it really just kind of puts stuff into perspective. If you're having trouble naming an emotion or naming what's going on, this, that, and the third, having your chart there and read can be helpful. If you guys want us to read your charts, if you want to, you can drop your birthdays. If you drop your full birthday, your location, and the time you were born, and we can tell you your entire chart if you would like. So the crystal that we're going to go over today that goes with horoscopes is Amazonite. It is named due to the colors that it presents with. So it's going to be a very light teal green type of color. A lot of people recognize it along the lines of with like the Amazon rainforest or anything along those lines. Not Amazon the company. The properties that Amazonite's going to have is emotional healing. It'll help reduce stress and anxiety. It helps with communication and expression. It helps you express your thoughts freely and more clearly, which I should probably keep on my desk while I'm recording. It helps balance energies, so it can promote a harmonious, balancing life on all aspects of the life cycle of a human. It aids in spiritual connection, so it can help your spiritual growth and increase your intuition. It also is so like I said earlier, it's a really good stress reducer. So it has a lot of calming qualities about it. It can help relieve a tension or a tension headache, anything along those lines. It also gives people courage. So if you have Amazonite in your possession, whether that be a palm stone, a tower, a bracelet, you're going to feel more confident and more courageous in what you do. So you may start to take more risks and you may start to apply to things that you never thought that you would be able to apply it to prior. If you need to cleanse your Amazonite, it's really good to do under running. Hold on. If you need to cleanse your Amazonite, you would want to run it under salt water or rinse it in salt water, moon or sunlight, depending on what type of energy you're trying to imbue it with. Or you can use selenite, because selenite is the best stone to cleanse with since it is its own cleansing or sound cleansing. The good thing about Amazonite is there is no zodiac sign affiliation, so any sign can use it and any sign can benefit from it. It is going to help with a lot of healing and intuition and emotions, like I said. Now, fun fact, guys, Amazonite, guess where it's found? In the mines, all right? So in the United States, Madagascar, Russia, Brazil, Namibia, yeah. So if you needed to go find some, which again, don't forget, you shouldn't do that. The mines are calling. So since it is in the mines, it is a type of granite. It happens whenever, the usual stones, rapidly cooling magma, depending on how far down it is and how much the pressure is and what other minerals are there, is what helps bring its green, teal, kind of blue sometimes, depending on the type of Amazonite you get, but it's going to be like the most beautiful teal. It reminds me of tropical waters, kind of, in a way. Personally, I have started to use Amazonite. That was one of the first stones that I ever purchased. I bought a tower and I have it in my game room right now. It helps a lot with stress reduction. I also have a tower at work because, again, stress reduction is the main goal of Amazonite, and she's just really pretty to look at as well, so I might as well surround myself with a beautiful stone. If you guys use Amazonite, let us know in the comments. Nikki, have you ever used Amazonite?
Yeah, I typically use it to draw in prosperity, money spells, money jars, and bowls and stuff like that. That's what I primarily use it for. And like
I,
a road opener.
I love that. It's like the perfect color for that too, because the type of green that it is kind of reminds me of like a money.
A money. Yeah, so depending on what color your money is and what country you're in. So for us, our money is green. So anything green will be used in a lot of like prosperity spells, like it's associated with money and being financially secure. So if you see an American version of like a money bowl, sometimes you'll see like green things in it or gold or like fake gold or real gold, even things in it.
I love that for us.
So I'm going to get into the tarot card that I pulled today, which was the King of Wands. This card is basically, it represents being a visionary and having a lot of ambition. So you see the image of somebody sitting on a throne with a fiery wand, and wands are associated with the element of fire in tarot. So it can mean having great leadership skills and being able to motivate other people, having a lot of ambition and pursuing these goals and passions that you have. You could have a lot of confidence, or maybe it's telling you that you need to boost your confidence for something if you're asking a question based on career specifically. It could mean to have more drive and to present yourself in a more confident light. It's very action oriented. It's doing things, not thinking about it. It's the action of going forth and pursuing these goals. And sometimes it can also mean maybe you're lacking focus, or you might be a little bit too impulsive, or maybe this card is coming on too strongly for you and you need to dial it back a bit. It could mean maybe you can't really lead people or work in a team of people properly. It really just depends on the context of your pool and how you see it and your initial question and where it lands in the pool. So if you're doing a certain spread, where it lands can depend on what this card specifically means for you. It can also represent a sort of like spiritual moment or awakening for you. You might want to embolden yourself or try to embrace more of your personal power and your own path instead of trying to follow other people.
Thank you for coming to our garden. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Let us know in the comments how you used the crystal we showcased today, and if you would like us to talk about any in the future. See you next time!